So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the final elective session for the USA Softball of Michigan elective sessions. Tonight's session is going to cover the umpire exam. The original thought was that we were going to be doing this on a Zoom a Kahoot platform. However, after doing quite a bit of investigating on that platform, it just wasn't conducive for us to do that. Those of you that are familiar with Kahoot, you're very limited as to the number of characters that you can put in for either questions or answers. And with some of the exam questions and answers that we have, that wasn't possible. So we do have the presentation that is straight out of the exam that will give you the questions, and then we'll have multiple choice in the answers. Like to do some discussion on the answers, even if it's a consensus of what that answer should be. And then we will reveal what that answer is. And then again, any discussion that you have, we can do that as well. Tonight's questions are going to be rules in general and mechanics. There may be one question that is specific to one sport and not the other. But I've avoided using, say, slow pitch specific or fast pitch specific, just because I knew we were going to have a mixed audience tonight. For those of you that are viewing this in the virtual environment, please make sure you grab a piece of paper. There are going to be several questions over the course of the presentation that are going to be identified that you will need to send the response to Brian in order to receive credit for the session. Those of you that are attending live do not need to send in those responses. You'll receive credit provided you put your name in the chat. Brian's email address is the letter B, Smith, ump@att.net. So BSMITHUMP@att.net. And again, there's going to be several questions for the virtual viewers that will need to send in to Brian to get credit. So moving on to the umpire exam. And again, this is discussion. We will not get through the entire exam. So if you'd like to complete the exam on your own, you can do so as well. And if you'd like to get that graded, reach out to one of the members of the staff, and we'll get that turned in for you. So the first question: umpires are urged to seek help on reversible plays in which they may have erred by not seeing a crucial element of a play. Such meetings, while necessary, should be infrequent and not become a substitute for rule knowledge, getting proper angles and distances, exercising sound judgment, or having the conviction to stay with the call that should be that an umpire believes was properly made. Is that statement true? False? It depends on who's playing. It depends on who my partner is, or only if working the one umpire system. Any thoughts on that?
A and D.
A and D. Okay. Anyone else? So the correct answer that I have is definitely E, only if working the one umpire system. But I think we've all been in situations where C and D have been a factor. But overall, the only incorrect response should be false. Okay. So a lot of times we'll be in a situation where we've gone to our partner on a check swing maybe a couple times and they've not been paying attention. Or this team has just been riding you the entire game, or you have a history with them. So I think that always influences whether or not you're going to go for the help. So just be aware of those situations that overall, if you know that perhaps you missed one of the elements, you should be going for help on that.
It just seems like.
So here's our first play. With no outs and a runner on third base, the batter hits a fly ball to left field. While the ball is in flight, the coach pushes R1 back to third base. F7 then makes the catch. the umpire should rule B2 is out on the catch and R1 is out for physically being assisted by the coach. The ball remains live. B2 is out on the catch. The ball is dead when the coach assisted R1. R1 must return to third base. The ball is dead. R1 is out for coach assisting them, and the batter is awarded first base. The ball is dead. B2 is out with R1 awarded home. Whoop, that was a mistake. So, no outs, runner on first, coach assistance. The
A.
question that, Mike,
A.
hey? Okay. Other than seeing the answer, does anybody else have any thoughts on that? The issue that is commonly found is when that ball, if it becomes dead, when it becomes dead, and does it remain live? So in this situation, we would want to give the defense the opportunity to get any outs. If you killed the ball the moment of the assistance, what are you going to do with the runner? So A is the correct answer.
Can I ask a question on that?
Absolutely.
Or for someone who's not running that situation yet? So when would you call that runner out for being physically assisted? After the play's over or right when it happens?
You could point to the assistants and indicate that's coach's interference. You're out, but don't do anything with the ball. Don't raise your hand in a dead ball manner, because you're going to allow the defense the opportunity to catch that ball. Now, since that's the only runner, and we have a catch in this situation, I'm going to have that's interference. You're out. Allow the catch to be made. Now I have another out, and then you can dead ball it, even though the ball is already dead, and then explain the situation of what happened.
Say
Does
you
that
have a
make
guy
sense?
on second. Yeah, say you have a runner on second too. You're gonna let that play out, everything play out, and then call him out, or you're gonna call him out right when it happens?
Yeah, because really in that situation, if you had a runner on second base as well, you could end up with the runner on third being out for the coach's assistance. You could end up with the batter being out on the catch, and then there's a potential that they could have a tag play or an out at third base on that runner from second. So you don't want to take that opportunity away from the defense to make those outs.
Hey, Ross.
Now you're not going to allow the offense to be rewarded and perhaps advance in that situation, though. Don, do you have a question?
Are you throwing out the dead ball signal or delayed dead ball signal? If it was an active runner on second.
Yeah, you would want to do something to indicate that something more is happening than what's obvious to the play. Tom, did you have a question?
That was basically my question right there, the delayed
Okay.
dead ball.
Gary, something to add?
You don't have to worry about that runner on third base. He can do whatever he wants. You're more worried about, in his case, the runner on second base coming to third.
Right. And in that situation,
And then if the
that
field goes
runner
home,
from third needs to make sure that they're avoiding interference, because then it's possible we could have interference by a retired runner.
True. Thank you.
Get back here. Question 2. Batter 1 gets a base hit deep into the outfield. As they're running the bases, they miss first base, touch second base, and are halfway to third when F6 throws the ball into the dugout, attempting to make a play on first base at third. Somebody got that play so far? Base hit deep to the outfield, running bases, they miss first, touch second, halfway to third, shortstop throws the ball into the dugout, attempting to make that play at first or at third. B1, seeing the ball thrown into the dugout, returns to first base, retouching second base along the way. Okay, So they're halfway between second and third. They go back to touch second, they go back and touch first. So the question is, what is the award?
Before you show the answers, did he stay at first? It says he went back, returns to retouch first and second base. Did he stay at first?
He went to third.
So would that have a bearing on the play?
Ross,
When is the award made?
Ross,
Well, your answers,
I lost you, Mike. Dan?
the answer is C, home.
I don't even have the answers up there yet. How do you know it's C?
I-
Because you've taken the test. Good for you. So Mike, I don't know if we lost you or where you went to, but keep in mind your awards can be
Oh,
based
I'm
on.
here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm here. My answer would be, if he stayed at first, he's going to get third.
So then if he stays at first, you're putting him on third. So if he touches first and then goes to third, then what is your award?
Going to give him home.
And-
Ross?
Yeah.
I believe that because of the fact that he was between second and third when the ball went out of play, the runner still has to run the base properly. They can go back, retouch second, touch first, and then the award is home because he was between second and third when the ball went into dead ball territory.
Correct. So remember that, Mike. So the award is made based on where the runner is at the time of the infraction. So now
Okay.
had he, go ahead.
All
So
right.
had he not gone back to touch first, so in this play, forget that he wants seeing the ball thrown in the dugout, returns to first base. Say he continued to third, seeing that it was thrown into the dugout and then advances home. What then is the potential to take place?
An appeal play.
Okay, so we can appeal that runner missing first, and now I've got the out.
Yep.
Okay. So for those of you that are watching this session virtually, this needs to be one of the responses that you have to Brian to let him know what the award is in this play. So the answer to question number 2 is C.
So I have a question.
Yes.
In this play, say he says, the coach says, you missed first base. So he goes back, touches second, goes back to first, the ball, he doesn't continue home. Oh, never mind, because the ball's dead. Never mind. I answer my own question.
Okay. We like
He
that
was
when that
between-
happens.
He was between second and third when the ball was dead. Okay, never mind.
Right. So you're making your award based on that fact
Yep.
and then allowing him to retouch any missed base again in the proper order. A team starts the game using the shorthanded player rule. 2 players show up in the top of the second inning. Which of the following is true? Neither player may enter the game. 1 player may enter the game. Both players may only be used as substitutes for those players who are already playing in the line. I can't remember if there's a D. Yep. 1 player must be entered in the vacant spot, or both become ineligible for the remainder of the game.
Answer
on
is
that?
D. D.
D is the correct answer. So 1 player must be entered in the vacant spot, or both become ineligible for the remainder of the game. Now for bonus points, where is that vacant spot?
Last spot in the batting order.
Last spot in the batting order. So remember, when they start shorthanded, The vacant spot is listed last. With 2 outs and a runner on third base, B4 hits a slow ground ball to F3. R1 is running on the hit and crosses home plate as F3 fields the ball and moves toward the base for an attempted tag out, or towards the batter for an attempted tag out. However, B4 stops and then steps back toward home to avoid the tag by F3. What is the correct ruling on this play? Is everybody visualizing this play? They know what's going on? So R1's run counts as they scored before B4 was tagged out. R1's run counts as B4 cannot be called for interference. R1's run count since B4 is called out for interference. R1's run does not count since B4 was called out for the third inning out of the inning before reaching first base.
D.
D.
Answer is D.
Take the automatic timing off this. Okay. So the correct response is D. R1's run does not count since B4 was called out for the third out of the inning before reaching first base. So that is not a timing play. With no outs and a runner on second base, B2 gets a base hit, but the plate umpire signals delayed dead ball, indicating catcher's obstruction. R1 misses third base on their way to being thrown out at the plate. The offensive team's coach protests that because R1 never touched third base, they did not legally advance one base. So the offense should have the option to enforce the catcher's obstruction instead of taking the results of the play. We got the play?
Ross, question for you. Why would the offensive coach question his player not touching the base?
Let me catch up here. Did I type something wrong? R1 misses third base on the way to being thrown out at the plate. The offensive team coach protested because R1 never touched third base. They did
Right
not
there.
legally advance.
Why would the offensive team's coach protest or scream that his runner didn't touch first base? Shouldn't that be the defensive team's coach?
Maybe
Now,
it
what they're
shouldn't.
going with this, if I can interject here, Ross.
Yep.
Good evening, everybody. What they look at with this is why the offensive team is complaining is because he's saying that because his runner never got to third base, then they should go back to third, take the catcher's obstruction, and now they would have runners at first and third, I believe is how it is.
Yep.
Or first and second, they would go back to that because it says that we had the runner start at second base. So that's what they're going for there. And I'll let Ross continue on with that, but that's why the offensive team would be complaining with that, Dan, if that makes sense.
Okay, it
They don't
does.
want the out. They don't want the out. They want to go back to first and second at this point. This was a question that was raised this weekend over a clinic I was in this past weekend. So, but go ahead, Ross.
Dan, does that make sense?
Yes, and it doesn't change the answer I'm going to give you.
Okay. R1 is returned to second base and B2 stays at first base on the catcher's obstruction. R1 is returned to third base and stays at first base on the catcher's obstruction. R1 is out at the plate and the catcher's obstruction is canceled. Interference should have been ruled on the catcher and B2 should be placed on first base and R1 on third base.
Answer
This
C.
timing is crazy.
C.
Answer is C.
So R1 is out at the plate and catcher's obstruction is canceled.
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions on that? Conversation, comments?
The only comment I will add to this is keep this in mind, and we talked about this before, is once they go by the base, even though they did not touch it, we as umpires will presume that they did touch the base until properly appealed. And with this case here, this is what happened. So it nullifies the catcher's obstruction because all runners had advanced at least one base.
B1 hits a ball up the middle and the ball strikes the pitcher's plate, rebounding back toward home plate and makes contact with B1's discarded bat that is lying stationary in fair territory. The ball then rolls untouched into foul territory where it is touched by F2, the catcher. What is the proper ruling? B1 is out for hitting the ball a second time. The ball is foul when it is touched by F2 in foul territory. The ball is fair because it hit the pitcher's plate before going into foul territory.
E.
Sec, my screen's froze. Sorry, guys, we're having just a little bit of a technical difficulty. My cursor's gone.
No cursing.
Okay, let's try this.
I'm not sure I like any of the answers.
Okay, now we're unstuck. Okay. So sorry about that. Everybody got the play. So batter is out for hitting the ball a second time. The ball is foul when it is touched by F2 in foul territory. The ball is fair because it hit the pitcher's plate before going into foul territory. Or B1 is out because the bat and the ball made contact a second time in fair territory.
B.
Any other conversation?
B, but I don't like it.
B, but you don't like it?
I don't think the correct answer is on there.
I don't either.
Correct answer is B. The ball is foul when it is touched by F2 in foul territory. So, Brian, you got any?
When it hits the bat laying on the ground, isn't it just considered a fair ball?
Not if it continues into foul territory.
Okay. I'd have
Brian,
missed that one.
If the bat had hit the ball, we have something different, but it seems that the bat was
Ball.
stationary.
Yeah,
The bat
don't
was
have a problem with-
stationary. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that, but when the ball hits the bat, you'd still go with where the ball ends up.
Where it comes to rest.
Yes.
Okay.
mhm.
so it rolls untouched into foul territory where it is then touched by F2. When conducting bat inspections prior to a game, which component of a bat is not inspected? The taper, the grip, the end cap, the barrel, or all of these are inspected?
E.
You're gonna look at them all, Billy? And that is correct. So would it matter if the bat had passed the compression testing and check prior to being at the field? Would you still inspect all of those items?
Sure would.
Okay, thank you for saying that.
Ross, just for the last question you had there, it said at the bottom there, if you go into rule supplement 24, it basically spells it out pretty almost word for word. As far as if the ball goes into, hits the bat and rolls into foul territory, then it's declared a foul ball. So the answer basically for everybody is to check the rule supplement, rule 20 or supplement 24 right there, and it will give you the answers that you're looking for.
So on any of these answers that are being given tonight, it's going to give you the answer. Then it's going to tell you the reference where if you have questions about it or need clarification, put your nose in the book and just, you can see what's there word for word. Okay, so we agree
I would
that,
say on the bat, you're also going to check for a rattle, although that's part of the barrel in most cases.
yeah. So, yeah, so barrel, what are you checking for? You're checking for the rattle, you're checking for the indentations, anything out of the ordinary where the bat was not manufactured that way.
Cracks in the laminate.
Okay. Which of the following is legal and would not result in an illegal player violation? A starting player who starts as F6 in the 5th batting position leaves the game and re-enters as F1 in the 5th batting position. The starting player leaves the game and re-enters their substitute, and their substitute is in the game at the same time. The starting player in the 3rd batting position leaves the game and re-enters in the 4th batting position. The DP is substituted for by the flex, and the DP re-enters the game in another batting position other than the one originally occupied. So obviously the answer for D.
The answer is A on that one.
A is an apple.
A is an apple.
A is an apple.
Starting player who starts as F6 in the 5th batting position leaves the game and re-enters as F1 in the 5th batting position. Okay, so he's in the same batting spot. He's just changing defensive positions. So we agree that's legal. R1 touches home plate prior to the following activities. Which of these would cause R1's run not to be scored if they result in the 3rd out of the inning? The batter runner fails to reach first base safely. R2 starting at first base is put out prior to reaching second base. R2 starting at first base is properly appealed for missing second base on their way to 3rd. An incorrect batter that completed their turn at bat is properly appealed prior to a pitch to the next batter, or all of the above. Which of those would cause R1's run not to be scored if they result in the 3rd out of the inning?
Is there more than one answer?
There could
C.
be.
I would say A and B.
Anyone else?
E.
E.
Correct response is E. So any of those would result in R1's run not to be scored if they result in the 3rd out of the inning. Comments, questions, concerns, confusions?
Keep going.
Okay.
So did R1 hit a home run then?
R1 touches home plate prior to the following activities. So no, so they would have been on 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Well, probably 3rd.
So why wouldn't? Oh, never mind.
So if we've got a force out at first, their run's not gonna count. R2 starting at first base is put out prior to reaching second.
That's a force out.
So there's a force. R2
Yeah.
starting at first base is properly appealed for missing second base on the way to 3rd. So there's an appeal play, 4th out. The incorrect batter, they completed their turn of bat, is properly appealed prior to the pitch to the next batter. So then you're going to back it up. So this is a fast pitch question and slow pitch with stealing. With no outs and a runner on first base, and R1 on first base, B3 is batting. But B2 is the proper batter. B3 takes 2 pitches, which are both wild, and R1 is now advanced to third base. So they've stole those 2 bases. The offensive team realizes that B2 is the correct batter and replace B3. The umpire should not allow the change because the defensive team must appeal batting out of order, allow the replacement and leave R1 at third base, allow the replacement and move R1 back to first base, or allow the replacement and move R1 back to second base. So the offensive team realizes their mistake and they put the correct batter in.
I say D is in Delta.
Answer's B.
I say B.
B is in
B
Bumblebee.
is in boy.
B is in boy.
Is it?
He is in boy is the correct response. So allow the replacement and leave R1 at third base. So what's happened prior to that? We're going to leave stand since the offensive team realized their mistake. They're going to put the batter in and they're just going to assume the account. Runners remain where they were. As well as any outs that may have been made are going to remain on the board. With 1 out, R1 is at second base, R2 is at first base. B4 hits an infield fly to F4. The umpire signals and pronounces infield fly, the batter is out. R2 collides with F4 prior to the catch being completed, and the ball hits the ground. The correct ruling is the ball is dead and B4 is declared out. R1 and 2 are returned to their original bases. Since an infield fly was declared, B4 is out. The ball remains live to provide the defense the opportunity to get additional outs. The ball is dead and B4 remains out on the infield fly. R2 is declared out for interference and the inning is over. The ball is dead and where'd I go? There we go. The ball is dead and R2 is declared out for interference. B4 is awarded first base and R1 is returned to second. The infield
C.
fly, R2 collides with the second base.
See,
See, anyone else?
C.
C.
All in favor of C, say aye.
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 Well, how come it didn't come up? Correct answer is C. So the ball's dead. B4 is out on the infield fly. R2 is out for interference. The inning is over. With no outs, runner on third base, R2 is on second base, and R3 is on first base. B4 is scheduled to bat, but B5 comes up to bat instead. B5 grounds into a double play, R2 out at third base, R3 out at second base. However, B5 is safe at first base, and R1 scores on the play. Everybody good with that? Before the next pitch, the defensive coach appeals B5 batting out of order. What is the correct ruling? All outs that occurred before the appeal are nullified, and B4 is out for missing their turn at bat. B5 is declared out for batting out of order, and R1 2, and 3 must return to the original bases. There are now 2 outs, and B6 is the proper batter. So there's 4 answers to this, and they're quite long on the answers. So you'd be better off if you maybe formulate the answer into your head as we continue to review these. So all runners called out prior to the appeal remain out. B4 is out for missing their turn at bat. There are now 3 outs. R1's run scores since it occurred prior to the appeal, and B5 will lead off the next inning. So he'll bat again. All runners called out on the play remain out. B4 is declared out for missing their turn at bat. There are now 3 outs. R1's run does not count, and B6 will lead off the next inning. All runners are called out on the play, remain out. B4 is declared out for missing their turn at bat. There are now 3 outs. R1's run does not count, as they would have been returned to third base if there were less than 3 outs. B5 will lead off the next inning. Do we need to see the play again, or is everybody good?
D.
E.
B.
Response is D. So all runners called out on the play remain out. B4 is declared out for missing their turn at bat. There are now 3 outs. R1's run does not count, as they would have been returned to third base if there were less than 3 outs. And B5 will lead off the next inning. Everybody good with that play? Everybody confused by that play? Okay. With 1 out,
What's going on?
with 1 out, R1 is at third base and R2 is at second base. B4 hits a fly ball that is caught by F7. R1 tags and advances to home when F7 first touches the fly ball. R2 leaves second base before the ball is touched by F7 and advances safely to third. F4 appeals that R2 left early, and the base umpire calls R2 out for the 3rd out of the inning. So the question is, R1's run does not count.
False.
Is that true or is that false?
False.
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 False. False is the correct answer. So for those of you watching virtually, question number 13, you need to send to Brian Smith in your email that the runner, R1's run does not count by virtue of play 13. With 1 out, R1 on second base and R2 on first base. Bless you. B4 hits a ground ball single into right field. F9 fields the ball, throws to F2 as R1 rounds third base and is advancing to home. R2 rounds second base and stops to observe the throw, and B4 advances to and rounds first base. R1 misses home plate and is pushed back to touch the plate by the on-deck batter. R2 attempts to advance to third base, and B4 is advancing towards second when this happens. The correct ruling should be dead ball, R1 is out, and their run is nullified for being physically assisted back to home plate. R2 is returned to second, and B4 is returned to first. R1 is out for being physically assisted, but their run counts and the ball remains live. R1 is out for being physically assisted, their run is nullified, and the ball remains live. Dead ball, R1 is out for being physically assisted back to home plate, but their run counts. R2 is returned to second, and B4 is returned to first. Or the infamous none of the above.
None of the
Thoughts?
above.
I hear one for none of the above. So for none of the above, what would your correct response be?
Run scores, everybody advances to where they were.
So the run scores, even though they are physically assisted back to home plate.
Yep.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Comments, questions, concerns?
C.
They're out for being assisted. Their run is nullified, but the ball remains live.
So Ross, as soon
Yes.
as you have a player being physically assisted, your ball's going to be dead. Because it's
No, that's not true.
Why is that not true?
It's not a dead ball situation.
Could it be a delayed dead
Don't
ball?
kill the play. Don't kill the play when you on that.
Could it be a delayed dead ball in that scenario?
Yeah.
To see what happens and then take it from there?
Yeah, I believe it would be a delayed dead ball, but when everything's done, you're going to have a dead ball. That runner or that runner that was on third base that scored and was physically assisted, you're not going to reward
No.
the offense for assisting. So the run can't count. They're going to be out. And because it's a delayed dead ball, wouldn't you have I can't remember where the runners were when this happened. So I believe that they would return to the base that they occupy or that they had achieved at the time of the delayed dead ball infraction.
I believe the mechanics manual doesn't call for a delayed dead ball signal on a physically assisted runner. You just point and say that the runner is out.
Ross, you want me to read the rule for him?
Yeah, so I mean, the correct response is A, dead ball, R1 is out and the run's nullified for being physically assisted. Yeah, if you got the book right there, Brian.
Yeah, I do. It's basically as they say, the exception. After a runner has scored and missed home plate and then is physically assisted back to home plate, 1, the ball is dead. 2, the runner is out, the run is nullified. 3, runners must return to the last base touched at the time the ball becomes dead. So we do not have a delayed dead ball on this. It is an immediate dead ball at that point.
Why is that? I mean, we're
I
taking
stand
the
corrected.
we're taking the defense's ability to. I mean, I get that's the rule, but what's the logic behind that? Because it takes the defense's ability to make another out away from him at that point.
I think what that is, Joe, I think what that is basically the offense is gaining an advantage by pushing somebody back to the base when they missed the plate. That would be my guess when they made that rule.
Well, I get that, but that's it's a very similar situation to like the question we had earlier where the base coach pushed the runner back to third to make sure that they tagged.
Right.
And in that situation, we leave it live because we want the defense to still have the ability to make another out. In this situation, we're taking that ability away.
In this particular case, yes.
Is it because it's a scoring play?
Because we're taking
a play, yes.
We have to take the run off the board.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Good
I mean, I get
discussion,
that's the
though.
rule. I still think that's, I mean, why wouldn't you give the defense the ability to make more outs in that? Especially in that situation, because the runners are moving.
We have the
You're
same
taking a
thing.
run off the board.
Yeah, we have the same thing on all of our interference plays to the extent of when we have interference, there's sometimes that they have a chance to make another play, but the way our rule is that we call the play right away, with the exception being on that one where they're assisted at third base or on a base, especially on a fly ball. But this is, think about that as far as whenever we have interference, we kill the play. Basically, we come up with dead ball and we stop all action. We do not let them give a chance to get another double play out of that situation.
But this is an interference.
That is correct. And what do we have when we have interference on a batter interference, or when we have runners interference? What do we have right away? We have a dead ball, right?
But this isn't
Yeah.
interference.
This
Here
is
it is.
interference.
This would be interference.
Yes.
Okay.
So a runner assisting another runner, whether or not that they've already scored, would be, I mean, it's the same as the coach. That's considered interference.
They can assist another runner. A runner can assist another runner while they're running the bases, but once they've crossed home plate, they cannot assist that runner to go back and touch.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's your difference.
Yeah,
And that was an on-deck batter too, so they hadn't even gotten up to bat yet, so they certainly can't interfere.
correct.
Okay. 15, B1 is batting and has a 3-ball, 2-strike count. F1 pitches the ball to B1, who starts to swing, but then tries to check their swing. The pitch hits B1's fingers. The plate umpire asks the base umpire, if B1 swung at the pitch, and the base umpire indicates that they did with a strike signal. What is the proper ruling on this play? Umpire rules that the hands are considered part of the bat, so the pitch is a foul ball. B1 was not positioned in the strike zone when they were hit, so they're awarded first base. Since it's ruled a swing on the pitch, the ball is dead, it's strike 3, and the batter is called out. Whether B1 swung or not, they were hit by the pitch and are awarded first base.
See,
I love this rule. See,
Correct answer is C. Since it's ruled a swing on the pitch, the ball is dead, strike 3, batter is out. So for those of you watching at home, question 15 also needs to be responded to, but the response is C as a result for question number 15. Okay, now close your eyes for a second, because in the interest of time, I'm going to skip ahead. Maybe. I didn't want to do this the old-fashioned way, but we will. Whoop. Okay. In a 2-umpire system, with the base umpire not chasing a fly ball, the following play occurs. With 1 out and runner 1 on first base, B3 hits a fly ball to F8, who catches the ball. R1 tags up and advances toward third base. Which of the following is correct umpire coverage? The base umpire should pick up the ball as they button hook inside the diamond, take the tag up at second, while the plate umpire takes the catch by F8 and the play at third base. The base umpire should pick up the ball as they button hook inside the diamond, take the tag up at second base and the play at third base, while the umpire takes the catch by F8. The base umpire should pick up the ball as they button hook inside the diamond, take the catch by F8 and the tag up at second base, while the plate umpire takes the play at third. Or the base umpire should stay outside the diamond for a better look at the tag up, while the plate umpire takes the catch by F8 and the play at third base.
B.
Those are your choices.
B as in boy.
B as in Bernadette.
He is in Bernadette. Okie dokie.
Bernadette is the correct answer. The base umpire picks up the ball as they button hook inside the diamond, takes the tag up at second and the play at third, while the plate umpire takes the catch.
There should be an E with a deviation from the mechanic and the plate umpire taking third base.
Hey, Joe, that would be great, but there's one thing you forgot. If you deviate, communicate, and that's part of the problem we have with some of our umpires. They don't communicate, so, but you are correct with that.
Yeah, I was just about ready to say, Joe, if Joe's my partner, then I have to deviate.
It's, hey guys, I'll give you a little side note on that. I had a talk with Kevin Ryan, and he brought that situation up. And his big thing was, there's nothing in our manual that says right now that if you deviate, you must communicate. So we had to go back to a manual back in the 90s and early 2000s to find the actual wording. And somehow when they went to the electronic manual online, some of that wording got dropped off. So I would say in the new manual that when they update that, you'll see the wording back in there.
It's a good thing.
And that has been a problem at tournaments last year. Well, the last number of years. That's been a
Yes.
big problem.
And that Kevin says he doesn't have a problem if we deviate, but there's no communication. So that means that there was people are doing things just on their own and not letting their partners know what's going on, or they're talking about it in a pregame, and people are just going out there and freelancing.
Most of the time, what I saw was the base umpires were assuming that the plate umpire was going to make the deviation, and then nobody was in a position to make the call at third.
At third
So
base.
then that what happens with when we assume something, you know what happens to that.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, like, I've noticed that has been a problem for a number of years now.
Oh, yes, that is correct. And that's why we're trying to take care of that.
So Joe, in that situation then, when the runner tags up from second and goes to third, your base umpire stays at second base and your plate umpire remains in their holding zone. Whose call at third is it?
In that situation, if there's no deviation communicated, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Then it's the base umpire's call because no deviation was made.
So in that's your pickle. So you've got a base umpire at second making a call when probably your plate umpire that's in the holding zone, who is closer to the play, also has the better angle.
Oh, absolutely. And there's probably going to be one of those, we need to go for help and have a conversation about it after the play's done. But yeah, yes, you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
But if the deviation's not made, then it's the base umpire's call. But I've seen no call in that situation more than a few times because the plate umpire didn't deviate and the base umpire assumed that they did, and then nobody makes a call. So again, that's another problem I've noticed at numerous tournaments.
So as the plate umpire, if you see that's happening, and your base umpire is not moving into position, then don't stay in the holding zone and tell your partner you're going to take the call at third base so that somebody's there.
It's probably some good communication to have. So for those of you viewing virtually, question number 44 also needs to be responded to in your email to Brian. So during the course of this session, there have been 4 questions that you need to respond to in order to get proper credit. So again, there's the exam is out there for you to take if you'd like to take the remainder of it. If you would like that to be scored, contact a member of your state staff. We'll get that done and send it back to you. Or your district UIC would also have that ability as well. For the district UICs that are on a line tonight or that view virtually, this PowerPoint is available to you if you would care to use that. Any of your training sessions in your district clinics, just contact me and I can forward that information to you. I am thankful that you attended tonight. I thought we'd get through a little bit more, but we had some great discussion. This will wrap up the elective sessions that we presented. And I am going to turn this over
Ross.
to your state umpire in chief, Mr. Brian Smith, for closing comments.
All right, thanks, Ross. Thanks, everybody. John, are you still on for your, are you still on, John?
John
Jonathan,
Jonathan?
Yes, I am.
do you want to pass along? I have not forwarded out your email you sent to me the other day or yesterday in regards to what you've done for your module. If you want to explain that to these folks.
Well, yeah, we've created a set of modules for the umpire exam for 2022 umpire exam that address all these questions. We broke it into 6 different sessions so that you can take them at your leisure, so to speak, and you will receive right or wrong answer back immediately, and you'll get an email, and also Brian will get an email that says that that you took that portion of the test. But Brian has all the links. All you have to do is click on the link and fill your name in, your email address at the end, and take the proper questions. There's only about 12 at the most for each module.
Thanks, John. Basically, I did not send that out until after tonight's session, and I know that District 11, you still have some test nights coming up. I will forward this on to you, Joe. Then you can decide whether you want to pass it out to your people from there for District 11. You and Matt and Gary and whoever else makes that decision can go from there. So I would like to thank everybody for being on the call tonight. Once again, it's a great discussion, as Ross said. This is, as he also said, this concludes our elective sessions, but they are still viewable on virtual as soon as we can get people to download it for us. Those are out of our hands right now. But once again, thank you so much. On February 27th, I believe it is, we will have our general session, and there will be an invite coming out to all the district UICs in regards to that. So enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to turn it back over to Ross, your host, and thank you so much again.
Okay,
Brian, I got one comment real quick. District 11 is doing 2 test meetings still. We'll go over the whole test, so it'll take more than an hour. We've always been able to get it done in less than 2. But I'd be more than happy to open up that to the whole state if anybody else wants to participate in that.
Yeah.
Do you want, because Ross, you're in with those links when they get sent out, aren't they?
Yes.
You want to forward those out, or do you guys want to send something out a little earlier? How do you guys want to handle that?
I guess it's a question for Matt. Do you have anything that would restrict bandwidth for the number of participants that you can have?
Yeah, I don't have like the full Zoom account, but I don't have like a time restriction. So I think I can get like 50 people on. So you think we would have more than that?
I don't have an answer to that.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and check.
Okay, we can always share the link and have individuals that would like to attend, maybe to contact you so you can get a ballpark count of how many there's going to be. Or if you wanted to, I can have up to 100. So you could always do a new link, and I could send an invite to you that you could forward with District 11, and I could host that if you wanted me to, and just turn over control to you for that session.
There's 33 on tonight.
Okay.
Okay.